Well, welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to take a look and try to make an archetype that I generally find interesting to try and build in different systems, and that is the sniper character. Dark Heresy has support for a number of different combat playstyles, and with the way the system is built, you can stack various bonuses onto your character for truly absurd amounts of damage. So let's see how that can be done. So to start with, let's look at what weapon options we have for a sniper. And for me, there's two obvious choices when going through the weapon list. The first possible weapon is the Long Last. Part of the last weapon group, it has a 150-meter range that deals 1d10 plus 3 energy damage with an armor penetration 1. It also has the accurate, felling 4, and reliable traits. Accurate grants you plus 10 on your ballistic skill after you take the aim action, and gives additional damage if you score extra degrees of success. Felling reduces the unnatural toughness bonus a target may have, which is present mostly on very large tanky enemies that pose a significant threat. And reliable means that your weapon will only jam on a roll of 100, no matter what. The other thing to note, which is available to every last weapon, is that you can overcharge their power packs. When you do so, you can set your weapon to either overcharge mode, dealing plus 1 damage but consuming double ammunition, or overload mode, which deals plus 2 damage, gains plus 2 penetration, uses quadruple ammunition, and instead of being reliable, gains unreliable, which means you'll jam on a roll of 91 to 100. Saying that the Long Last has an absolutely enormous clip of 40, in my opinion, it's essentially always correct to be in at least overcharge mode, reducing your clip from 40 to 20, but it's still plenty of shots for a sniper character, and you'll just get a free plus 1 damage no matter what. And against especially scary targets, you can switch over to overload mode for another damage and 2 more penetration at the risk of extra jams on your gun. The other major option is going to be the sniper rifle, which is a solid projectile class weapon with a range of 200 meters that deals 1d10 plus 4 impact damage and has a penetration of 3. It also has the accurate and reliable traits, but doesn't get the last variable power setting rule. It does, however, because it is a solid projectile, get access to a number of unique special ammunitions which you can requisition for your sniper rifle, and which grants it additional benefits beyond what the gun stats are. These two guns are pretty comparable. A sniper rifle does a little more innate damage, and that can be boosted even more with special ammunition, but you will have to acquire that separately. The Long Last, on the other hand, while it has a slightly lower range and deals slightly less base damage, does come with the variable power setting, which lets you straight off the bat boost its damage to more comparable with the sniper rifle, and has that felling forward trait, which will be especially useful as you go later on in your campaign and are more likely to encounter the threats that are going to have unnatural toughness. For my bet, if I were to play this character, I would probably choose the Long Last. So that's what I'm going to be assuming that we have going forwards. The next thing we're going to want to do is customize our new Long Last with weapon modifications, starting with the Custom Grip, which is a rare modification and grants you a plus 5 ballistic skill when you're shooting your gun. A modified stock is a scarce weapon modification and grants us an additional +2 bonus on a half-action aim or a +4 bonus for a full action. Normally when you aim, you can choose to spend a half-action, at which point you'll get +10 bonus to your next attack, or a full action, at which point you'll get a +20 bonus. And the modify stock just turns that into +12, +24 instead. And finally, we'll want an omniscope. Now this is a near unique item, so it's going to be very difficult to acquire. However, it combines the presence, red dot, and telescopic sights all into one, which makes it the best scope on the market, bar none. Looking at what each of its component scopes actually do, the presence sight lets us ignore any penalties due to darkness, and in fact grants us a +20 bonus on vision-based perception checks in the dark. The red dot laser sights grants us a +10 bonus on our ballistic skill when firing a single shot, which as a sniper is all we are going to be doing. And the telescopic sight lets us ignore the range penalties after we take a full aim, meaning that with our long blast, after we take a round to aim, we can shoot up to 600 meters away with no penalty. So now that we have our weapon all checked out, let's try and find a background role that can make good use of it. For my 2 cents, I think I would go with the Imperial Navy, which grants us +1 degrees of success on ballistic skill tests within short range. Now you might think that this is a silly idea. Why would we want to be within short range as a sniper? However, consider the fact that the long blast still has a 150-meter range, meaning our short range is quite a lovely 75 meters, which is plenty of distance to hide in the back of the rubber band and be in relative safety and still within short range of everyone on the battlefield. The one downside, however, the Imperial Navy starts with solid projectile training instead of blast training, meaning that it pushes us a little bit towards picking the sniper rifle over the long blast. Now, I still kind of like my choice, even if it is slightly anti-synergistic. Weapon training isn't that expensive of a talent to pick up, so I don't consider it too great a cost to go through. If you want a different option, I think another good choice would be the Imperial Guard. They do get last weapon training, and their backup bonus lets you re-roll damage rolls of 1 or 2 if you attack an enemy that an ally attacks since the end of your last turn. Now, the reason I went with Navy over Guard is that Navy gets a better aptitude, namely offense, which is pretty important for a few of the talents that we want to pick up. And additionally, Guard grants us a little less flexibility on our target choice. We have to coordinate with an ally to make use of a pickup bonus, which is all well and good, but as a sniper, we kind of want to be picking off high priority targets, spending one shot on each of them, and ideally not needing any assistance from our allies to do so. Next up is the role, and I think the only real choice is going to be Assassin. Not only does it give us a number of aptitudes that we really like, it also lets us spend a fate point after we hit with an attack to increase the damage by the degrees of success that we score. Because this is after the attack has hit, we can wait and save the fate point for when we know it will be most effective. If we manage to roll an attack that scores 8 or 9 or even 10 degrees of success, we can spend our fate points there and make sure we maximize the value of our roll bonus. Next up, we'll to look at what talents we have available, starting with Inescapable Attack, a tier 2 talent requiring for us ballistic skill of 40 earn a perception of 35. This imposes a penalty on evasion tests made against our attacks by 10 times the degrees of success we score on the test. So, for example, if we shoot someone with a long blast and score 3 degrees of success, if they try to dodge out of the way, they will take a minus 30 penalty to that test. Of course, if we manage to stay hidden from our opponents when we take the shot, we aren't allowed to make the evasion test at all. But sometimes being exposed is inevitable, and this makes sure that even in those cases, you can still hit nimble opponents who like to dodge out of the way. Next we have Precision Killer, which is another tier 2 talent requiring a ballistic skill of 40. This just removes the penalty when making a called shot, meaning that we can do so at +0 instead of normal -20. Called shots are extremely powerful since they let us choose which part of the body we want to hit our opponent, meaning that in general we always want to go for the head since that is usually where armor is weakest and where you require the least amount of damage to lead to instant death. Next we have Death Dealer, a tier 3 talent requiring a ballistic skill of 45. This makes it so whenever we deal critical damage, so once we've gone through the target's armor, their toughness, and all of their normal wounds, we deal additional damage equal to our perception bonus. Next we have Eye of Vengeance, which is another tier 3 talent requiring a ballistic skill of 50. This lets us spend a fate point before making a ranged standard attack, and lets us add the amount of degrees of success we score to the damage and the penetration of that attack. Note that this cannot be combined with cold shot, so you can't point this specifically where you want on a target, but it's still quite potent, seeing as, especially as a sniper, you're quite likely to score a large amount of degrees of success. Next is Mighty Shot, another tier 3 talent, requiring a ballistic skill of 40, which just lets us add half of our ballistic skill bonus rounded up to all damage we deal with ranged weapons. And finally we have Target Selection, a tier 3 talent requiring a ballistic skill of 50, which lets us shoot into melee without the normal penalty, which is usually a -20. And if we take the aim action beforehand, which we are quite likely to do, we can negate any chance of friendly fire, allowing us to safely assist any melee allies trying to beat down on a terrifying opponent. So finally, let's put this all together and see what we can do with an endgame character. I'm going to assume that we have all of the weapons, bonds, and talents that we want, and that we've managed to boost our ballistic skill to its maximum of 60, and our perception to at least 40. Let's assume that we are taking a cold shot, and that we are within that 75-meter short range for Imperial Navy bonus. Being within short range also grants an inherent +10 bonus to our ballistic skill. Let's take a full action to aim, which, with accurate and our modified stock, will come out to another +34 bonus. Our red dot sight will give us another +10, our custom grip will give us +5, and even though we're making a cold shot, because of Precision Killer, we don't actually suffer any malice to do so. This comes out to a total of +59 to our check, meaning that we'll be rolling versus a check total of 119. With that high of a total check, we're pretty easily expected to score 6 to 7 degrees of success natively, plus an additional 1 for being an Imperial Navy in short range. So, for the sake of simplicity, let's assume we score 7 degrees of success. If we want to just take our cold shot and be a little safe about it, we will take 1d10 plus 3 damage from our standard long-last damage, plus 2d10 from accurate, plus 1 from overcharge power setting, plus 4 from death dealer, and another plus 3 from body shot, totaling 3d10 plus 11 penetration 1, which is on average 27 damage, more than enough to kill most standard human beings, and enough to put a pretty significant dent to even some of the Imperium's finest soldiers. If instead we wanted to go all out and deal as much damage using as many resources as we could overload our long-last instead of overcharging it, granting another plus 1 damage and plus 2 penetration. We could spend a fate point after the attack for Assassin to deal extra degrees of success total damage, and a fate point before the attack for Eye of Vengeance, dealing another extra degrees of success total damage, and increasing our penetration by degrees of success. With our same assumption of 7 degrees of success, this increases our total damage output to 3d10 plus 26, penetration 10, or on average 42. This is almost enough to one-shot a Space Marine and will put a significant dent into even the toughest enemies that you'll face. And it's made even better because remember the long-last has Valley 4, and a lot of these enormously tanky enemies you're going to want to spend all of your resources on are going to have some kind of unnatural toughness bonus, meaning that you'll effectively have plus 4 penetration above what you normally have versus those opponents. So that's all for this week's video. Obviously, this is an incredibly late game setup. You're going to have to spend thousands of XP and many very difficult requisitions to get everything that you want put together for this. But when you do, you can truly become an avatar of death on the battlefield. And it is fun to see just how ridiculous Dark Heresy lets you focus in on one ability. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you will come back next time to see what I'll cover next. But most importantly, I hope you have a lovely day.